it's interesting there because, of course, if you're studying consciousness again and you're trying to do it sensibly, remove all the assumptions. You presumably you can operate even if there is no real single entity. So if there is no real mat, right, but there's just a kind of sequence of mat models, if you like, that relate to each other
Mhm.
quite strongly. That doesn't matter, does it? You can still do this science, right? So if the question of personal identity, let's say, for example, let's say we resolve that question and say there is no real identity, right? And actually,
Mhm.
a lot of physical science points to that as well, doesn't it? Right? That doesn't stop you guys doing this, does it? It doesn't matter that there might not be a single individual continuity, does it?
No,
Mm,
no, not at all. I mean, I would say that's one of the important realizations which is now almost ubiquitous in consciousness science, independent of whether you're an idealist or a physicalist or whatever,
mm,
and that you can dissociate this question of like selfhood and personal identity on the
mm.
one hand from
Yeah,
this question of phenomenal experience on the other. Those are two different
yeah,
things.
yeah.
I personally would say, okay, you start with phenomenal experience, and in certain systems, you get this kind of notion of selves or of persons that do it. Um,
Mm.
but anyway, I mean, no matter how you want to play it, I mean, I think those are two different questions.
Yeah, yeah, they are. But it does lead me to one insight, which is that I think, is it the case that you've got to be quite strong-minded to be able to study this stuff? Because you hear about people being exposed to it, and think, oh my God, might undermine their sense of identity or continuity, that kind of thing. It can be quite shocking, some of these insights, because again, they don't relate to our common sense view of the world at all, do they? Whether that's due to our instincts or it's been inherited culturally, it's quite scary stuff for some people, isn't it?
I mean, in some sense, actually, that's true. I mean, I would say there's a big difference when you're doing uh, under quotes, normal science. I mean, it's about the physical world, and I mean, who cares about the stuff which is going on there? But
Mm,
if you're doing some work on consciousness, then it's deeply personal in some sense.
mm,
So,
mm,
there's this difference, and yeah, that might have some, quasi-existential consequences for you.
mm,
I am personally less bothered by that. Um, I don't know why.
mm,
Um, but yeah, I see the point. I see why you actually could be.
mm.
I don't think that you have to necessarily be very strong-minded. In some sense, I don't consider myself to be very strong-minded. Um, but yeah, I see why that might be uncomfortable for some.
Mm. Just on a very,
But
very
it's also
basic.
liberating. I mean,
Mm,
we carry with us a lot of baggage, like a lot of, let's say, culturally acquired baggage.
mm,
And and research like that also helps us to understand that we can let go of that culturally acquired baggage. And that's
mm,
kind of liberating as well.
yeah, because of course the very society that we operate in kind of presupposes that we are sort of individual, continuous entities. Obviously, our moral systems, our legal systems, it presupposes certain metaphysical properties of being human, and they
Yes.
might be wrong, right?
Yes.
I mean.